and welcome to my channel, Cooking for the Family. I'm Dyvonne. Today I'm going to share with y'all how to make banana pudding pie. My mom loved always making banana pudding, and this is a take on the banana pudding recipe. I'm going to make banana pudding pie and share with y'all step by step how to make this wonderful recipe. So first I have some butter, and I'm using salted butter, and I went and I melted my butter, and I'm going to let it melt and cool. I'm going to put this aside and let it cool, and that was 6 tablespoons of butter that I melted. Now I'm getting together the crust, and I'm going to be using graham crackers to make my crust. You can also use Nilla wafers as well, but I really like using the graham crackers. So you want about 12 graham crackers. I'm going to take these and go ahead and crush them so we can make our homemade crust. And when I say 12 graham crackers, I'm referring to the full sheets. So 11 or 12 full sheets of graham crackers will work perfectly to make your crust. And then I just use my freezer bag and my rolling pin to crush them down into those tiny pieces that we're going to need. I'm using a 9-inch pie pan, and in my 9-inch pie pan we're going to take those crushed graham crackers, and we're also going to put in some sugar to make our crust. I'm putting in 1/4 cup of regular granulated sugar, and you want to mix those two together. I'm using a fork to mix the two, but you can definitely use a fork or a spoon. You just want to incorporate the two as best as you can before you add in your melted and cooled butter. Now, if you are new to my channel, welcome in, and if you're a returner, welcome back. And I am so excited to share with all of you that I am in the running for favorite chef and to be featured on the cover of Taste of Home magazine. I know, right? Wow. So I will put a link in the description box below, and I would surely appreciate your vote. Voting is free, and you can vote daily as well. So once I have my melted butter into the pie crust, you want to go ahead and mix it until it starts to have a sand-like texture and look to it, like a wet sand. I go ahead and I even the crust out. Then I switch over to a measuring cup. This is 1/4 cup measuring cup, and I'm just pushing down. You want to rotate and push down just like that, and start to push down and even out the pie crust. While I'm doing this, I also am making sure that I'm letting it go up the sides, so that way we have crust around the sides as well on the bottom. And so keep doing that. Then after a while, I switch over to my 1 cup measure, and I'm firmly pressing to make sure that my crust ends up holding together. You also want to go around the sides and tilt your measuring cup, pressing and using your fingers as a guide to create your side crust. Now once we're done, this is what our crust is looking like. I'm going to go ahead and put it in a 350-degree oven, and we're going to bake it for 8 to 10 minutes just until it gets a little bit of a nice golden brown color. So our pie crust is out of the oven. We're going to let it go ahead and cool. We're going to be separating our eggs. I'm using 3 large eggs, and my eggs are at room temperature. I'm going to put the whites aside. We're not going to be using the whites, but I will put a recipe in the description box below if you want to make some forgotten cookies, and those are wonderful meringue cookies that you can use to use your meringue. To make our pie filling, I'm using 1 12-ounce can of evaporated milk. And to that, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of regular granulated sugar. Now while I'm doing this, I do have my flame on, and my flame is on low. Then I'm going to add our 3 egg yolks. Then after our 3 egg yolks, I'm going to put in a thickener, and that's going to be our cornstarch. I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm adding some salt, and that's going to be 1/4 teaspoon of regular table salt. Now in the description box below, I will have a list of all the ingredients you need to make this delicious banana pudding pie. Next, I go ahead and I use my whisk, and I want to whisk and blend in, and I want to remove any of the little specks of the cornstarch. So you just use your whisk, and you want to whisk really well, just like I'm doing there. And be sure to get around the sides as well. And we're going to be gently cooking our pudding until it becomes nice and thick. Now, whether you're cooking pudding or custard, something that you may run into is that sometimes it will clump. Anytime that you are cooking, you run the risk of the ingredients kind of clumping together. Now, when I was making this before, and I was doing it as a total banana pudding, the old-fashioned banana pudding that my mom would do, when I was doing it and it started to clump and I was like, oh, I've got to throw it out. No, you don't have to. You have to keep working with it. And that's something that my mom taught me, is that you want to go on and keep working with it, and we'll be able to get out the clumps. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to share with you how to do that. So I went from doing my whisk to using my wooden spoon. I'm going back and forth. And although we have our fire on the low and it's cooking, nice and gently, sometimes we'll get those little like clumps in there, and how we get rid of those is two different ways. One way is we can go ahead and strain. Once you get to the desired thickness that you want with your pudding, you can go ahead and strain out any lumps to make it nice and smooth. Another way though, and this is the way that my mom would do anytime this would happen, is that we would get a wire whisk just like this, and you want to whip it. You want to whip it really good and don't stop. You want to keep going until you go ahead and make sure everything is nice and smooth out and blended. And you see what I'm doing? I'm using my nice wire whisk. I'm blending around the sides as well as in the insides, just like that, and then whip really good. And as you see, once I got to my desired thickness, I also turned my flame off. You can also take your pot and move it to a different eye on the stove, so that way it's also not having any residual heat. But this is what it's looking like. And then we put in 1 tablespoon of butter, and we're also going to add in 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And you want to add those at the end, just like I did. And then you take your spoon again and go ahead and you want to blend the butter until it melts into the pudding, just like that, and just keep mixing. And so once we've done that and we have our butter is melted, your filling should be blended and nice and smoothed out. Now we're going to go ahead and fill our pie crust. Now for the banana pudding pie, we're going to put the bananas on the bottom of our pie crust. Now my bananas were kind of small, so I'm using 3, but if you have medium to large size bananas, you would just need 2. And I'm going to save about 1/3 of one of my bananas, and that's going to be the bananas I'm going to put on top as a garnish. For my bananas inside the pie, I like to do 2 layers. And then also, if you want to keep your bananas from browning, you can add just a couple of drops of fresh lemon juice, and that will help your bananas not to brown. So once I have my bananas layered, I'm going to go ahead and put my pie filling in on top of the bananas. And you want to work quickly because your filling will start to thicken up and set, and you want to get your filling on your bananas before the filling starts to get too thick on you. I'm going to cover the top with some plastic wrap, and this is to keep a film from developing on the top layer of our pie filling. And so put saran wrap right on top, just like that. And then I'm just going to let this sit on the stove for about 10 minutes, just until it cools just a little bit more. Then I'm going to put it in the refrigerator to let it go ahead and chill. And it's going to chill. It's going to need to chill for at least a minimum of 4 hours before we can top it with our homemade whipped cream. Our pie is out of the refrigerator. It's been chilling for about 4 hours now. I'm going to take the plastic wrap off the top. It has set up nicely. It is looking good. I'm going to go ahead and start on our whipped cream. And your carton can say heavy whipping cream or either heavy cream. Either one of those will work the same. And so we're going to start off with 1 cup. And I'm putting in 1 cup of my heavy whipping cream. And then to that, I'm going to be adding some powdered sugar. And we're going to be putting in 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. I'm going to let my powdered sugar and the 1st cup of the heavy cream whip together. Then once they start to get blended, then I add the balance of my cream, and that's going to be a total of 2 cups that I'm adding in. Then I turn my blender up to high. I let it whip really good, and then you're going to see some nice peaks that are going to start to form. Once I get to that point, then I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. I lowered my blender a little bit because our whipped cream will go from a nice pillowy texture to whipped butter really quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and finish mixing this with my spatula. And this is what you want your whipped cream to look like. You want it to be nice and fluffy, just like that. And that was 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and we did 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. I like to start in the center and then kind of push out to the edges with the whipped cream, just like that. And then once I have it kind of pushed out from the center to the edges. Then I move to my offset spatula, and then I use the offset spatula to make my nice swirl pattern, and I just kind of swirl it around just like that all the way up to the top, and I'm just doing little wispy swirls. And then at the top I'm going to garnish it with some of the bananas that I had set aside, and you can do it just like this, like I'm doing, and put the bananas, just kind of crowning them at the top. You could put them around the sides if you like, or all over the pie. It's just kind of like your personal preference. But this is our banana pudding pie. This is what it's looking like. Let's go ahead and cut into it and see how we did today. That first piece can sometimes give us a challenge on getting it out, but what I have found is that once I cut into the pie, I like to kind of take my spatula, go underneath, and then I do a little bit of rocking motion, kind of rock back and forth a little bit, and that kind of helps to get that first cut out. Well, I'm going to give you guys the first bite. Are you ready for your bite? Here you go. This one's for you. Now I'm going to take my bite and see how we did today. Y'all, this has come out so good. Banana pudding pie. I hope you guys give this recipe a try. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go on and hit that subscribe button. It's free. If you like this video and appreciate the content, don't forget to show it some love. Give it a thumbs up and click share. Share this video with a friend or family. Don't forget to click that notification bell so you can come back and visit me again in my kitchen. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.